So we're actually going to be placing them kind of around her umbilicus area, lower belly, and then above her knees. So obviously she's a young patient, but these areas just kind of bother her a little bit. She says, especially when she wears dresses and things like that, she doesn't like the way her knees look. That just kind of has like extra loose skin above her knee. Same thing with her lower belly. So we're going to use smooth threads to stimulate that collagen and elastin and really tighten up some of that loose, lax tissue that bothers her. So this will be her first treatment. Obviously she has numbing on right now. We're just using a topical BLT cream. And then we're gonna go ahead and get started. Okay, so in that previous video, you saw that we were treating above Steph's knees to help with stimulating some collagen and elastin in that area to help tighten up that loose, lax tissue. We're basically doing the same thing, but now in her abdomen. So again, as the patient is laying down, it's kind of hard to appreciate where the laxity is, but when she stands up, you could see where the loose tissue kind of folds over itself, and that's what she doesn't like. So I'm working below the belly button and above it to really help tighten up any of that loose, lax tissue. So you can see I'm basically doing the same kind of pattern that I did on her knees. So 3 sections of 10 threads each, cross-hatching. I'm using the same threads that I used on her knees as well. So I'm using the V-Soft 29 by 40 screw or twisted threads. And you can see I'm just kind of placing them 5 horizontally, 5 vertically, trying to figure out the best way to do it. So you can see I'm kind of placing it a little oblique to my last ones because that's just the way it was easiest for me to get it into the tissue. And then I decided it might be a little bit easier coming from the other direction, so I kind of switched it up a little bit. But you can see I'm placing all of the threads, just 10 in little sections around the entire umbilicus area to ensure that she gets as much collagen as possible. She did say that the stomach was a little bit more sensitive than her knees, but she said she felt the initial pinch, and then once the thread was in there and I just kind of was pushing it in, she didn't even feel it anymore. So she did a really good job. I did use a topical BLT cream on this area as well for 10 to 15 minutes prior, and then cleaned her up with HIPAA cleanse and alcohol, and then again just using the marker to kind of create a treatment plan for where I wanted to place the threads and figure out how many I was going to use, and then just getting them into the tissue however I can in the best way. So you can see I'm doing the same thing that I did on the knees, so really pulling the skin nice and tight to ensure that the thread is able to just glide right into the skin. Placing 5 horizontally and 5 vertically. And this is the patient's first treatment. So just like we did with her knees, she will come back in 4 to 6 weeks, and I will repeat this, and then one more time in 4 to 6 weeks for a total of 3 treatments. And then after the 3rd treatment, I'll see her back again at 4 to 6 weeks just to kind of monitor and see the progress we have made. So every single appointment, I encourage attendees to take photos of the patient, even if you are, if they don't sign a model release and you're not going to be posting them all over social media or using their before and afters, but it's just a really nice tool to use to show the patient that we are making progress and that they are getting decent results. Sometimes with smooth threads, these results are very gradual and they happen slowly. So if the patient's looking at themselves every day, they won't appreciate the changes that are happening until you really show them those photos from the previous month and then the 2nd treatment and then the 3rd treatment. And you can really show them the progress that they have made. So always take photos of the areas. I took photos of her while she was standing up to let gravity do its job, so you can really appreciate the loose, lax skin. And that's how I'll take all of her future photos as well. So I'm focusing more on the lower belly below the umbilicus because that was her main area of concern. But then once I'm done with these, you'll see that I'll place a little bit above the belly button as well because she has a little loose, lax tissue up there. And you can see that little scar above her belly button. She had a belly button piercing that obviously she no longer has. So she has a little scar there that we are trying to work on as well. So I know this seems like a lot of smooth threads because it is, but when we are treating the body, obviously we have a bigger surface area to work with, and the threads, these ones at least, are only 40 millimeters long. So obviously you're going to have to use quite a few to cover the area that you're trying to treat. All right, this is a perfect example to show you that we are all not perfect. That thread, you could see that when I was placing it, I was trying to pull the skin really tight. And because of the tissue in this area, the thread just kind of automatically wants to continue going deeper. So I really have to push down on the hub of the needle to almost bend the needle up a little bit so that it stays in that superficial subdermal space where I want it to. And that thread, I kind of just bent a little too much. So I just got rid of it. It's not worth trying to mess with it after it's bent. So I just took it out and replaced it with a new one. So now we are on the third section of the lower abdomen and placing them vertically now. So however it works, that's kind of the beauty of smooth threads, is that you do not have to follow a specific pattern or treatment plan. Whatever works, however you can get the threads in there is going to be the best bet for you. So it doesn't really matter how you do it, just as long as you're getting the threads in the area that you're trying to treat, that will give the patient the best result. Okay, so then lastly, we are moving up to above the belly button area. And I'm basically doing the same thing, but just in two smaller sections. So I'm doing 5 threads horizontally, 5 threads vertically to crosshatch, and I'll do 2 sections of those. So she actually got a total of 50 smooth threads around her belly button, which obviously can be a lot for some patients. As I've stated multiple times, Steph is a rock star when it comes to smooth threads, and she's able to tolerate it really well. Obviously the BLT helps too, so she's able to sit through it really nicely and tolerate it, but this probably wouldn't be a great procedure for patients who are needle phobic or have a hard time sitting through procedures like this, because it's obviously a lot of pokes, but she's a great patient, so makes it easy. So once I get this one in, you'll see we'll twist all of them 360 degrees, slowly remove, and then we have one more section left. So you can see this one, I'm really focusing on trying to get it right through her scar, which obviously if you've ever placed smooth threads before through a scar, it's a little bit more difficult. So pulling the skin nice and tight and just giving a little extra oomph of the push of the thread will help to get it in there, because it's almost just acting like a subcision to the scar as well. And then the collagen will help to fill in the scar and kind of get rid of it as we continue treatments for her. So the little reddened areas below are just from all of the pokes that I've done on her belly. So those typically will go away within 20 to 30 minutes. It's like the same thing if you treat someone with Botox and they get those little red and raised areas or something like that. Just a little bit of irritation to the skin. They will go away within 20 minutes or so. I don't do anything afterwards for smooth threads. I basically just clean them up and tell them to be aware of the area, keeping it as clean as possible. I usually recommend that patients don't exercise the day of, just to let those sites kind of heal over and keep them as clean as possible. And the smooth threads, as I said in the last video, kind of require a little extra push. So you can see that one kind of got stuck right there, and then you have to give it just a little extra push to ensure that you're pushing it all the way to the hub of the needle so that the thread stays where we want it to. So this is the last thread. We're just going to twist all of those, remove them, and then this patient is all done. So cleaning her up, I always wipe with alcohol to ensure she's nice and clean. Again, the reddened area should go away within 20 to 30 minutes. And we will see her back in 4 to 6 weeks to do it all over again and monitor her progress. Thanks for watching, everybody.